Hello, welcome to this podcast. My name is Will Fruin. I'm the author, the individualist trying to start this off from the ground from scratch. Brand new to this, quite nervous, but I have had my own struggles, and I realize about how important it is to talk about men's health and men's mental health. My name is Will, like I said before, former Marine, did 2 tours over in Iraq, grew up in a lower social economics, and I had issues being able to talk about my emotions. Hopefully, you guys will stay tuned to more of the podcast where I'll share parts of my stories while I'm interviewing people. But the biggest area that I would like to be extremely vulnerable about is I've had my 2 bouts of suicide. I've had a divorce, failed relationships, and the reason I wanted to share this is it's okay. It's okay to fail. It's okay to actually have had some struggles. But one of the things I've learned over this journey is being vulnerable and sharing the areas that I thought was a lot of shame. A lot of men, like myself, have actually struggled with them where they didn't want to open up because they feel weak or they were very proud. Or if they were to share their own struggles, would they be judged and would they be cast out? And for a long time, I felt that way. Um, I used to hide mine with drinking. I hid it with sex, with different relationships. Had a hard time connecting with people. I was able to get along with a lot of people, but I was also very alone in a lot of ways. I ended up pushing my family away when I first came back from Iraq. I ended up falling apart for a very long time, and it led me to a pinnacle, a change. And it was January 14th of 21. I had a barrel underneath my chin, and it was a shotgun. And I was drunk, and I was insecure, and I was angry because I was alone. I was lost. My father died several months before that. And my oldest brother died a month before that. And honestly, all I had was anger. I pushed away a relationship from a person that I loved at the time. And I ended up going to a psych ward for 7 days. And when I did the psych ward, I had a chance to get away from everything. The first time ever being there, and I was scared shitless. He gave away my keys, my phone, my wallet. I was in a room that was constantly under surveillance. And honestly, it was a time I found peace. I remember telling myself, if this doesn't work, I'm going to end my life. Stayed there for about 7 days, read several books, and when I got out, I was like, hey, I want to go to a residential treatment that the VA had. And at the time, Denver was not admitting any people. So I flew back on my own dollar to Long Island, but I made sure to make a phone call and see if I can get accepted. And I was accepted. And I remember telling myself, I was like, if this doesn't work, I got a $15,000 credit card, I'm just going to end my life. And I felt so alone. And when I went to the treatment, I learned a lot about how my emotions were stuck in the past and how I couldn't move forward because I didn't know how to unpack it. I didn't know how to be vulnerable. I didn't know how to tell my story. I didn't know to allow people to see me. Obviously, at that time, I'm 36 years old. You would think that this all would be natural. Couldn't hold down a stable job for a while, so I felt so ashamed. And so I'm at this point by myself, and I met this amazing dude. His name is Dr. Gately. And we did a lot of therapy together. We talked about my stuck points, my traumas, why they actually were so impactful. Dove a little bit into my childhood, and I was in this place for 13 weeks. The closer I got to healing, the more I wanted to run because I thought other people needed it more than I did. And I remember him telling me, he was like, hey, this is the time to sit down. This is the time to get into the nitty gritty. This is the time to work harder. And the more I worked, the better I became. And the scary part about all this was like, hey, I got better. If I'm better, then who am I? Am I a Marine still? Am I still a disabled veteran? Am I still a person with PTSD? What am I? These identities were holding me back. And as being a man, a lot of our identity is also wrapped around about how men are supposed to behave, how men are supposed to act. Shit, most of us have been raised by predominantly women. My father, even though I had a two-parent household, my father, he had his own demons from Vietnam. He would leave the post office where he would work, and then he would go out drinking the whole night and come back, and that was his life for a while. He was stuck in a ongoing cycle of being stuck. My mom tried to raise us, but she had her own stuff going on. And being the youngest, I looked up to my brother, and my brother didn't know how to be a man either. It's it was hard. It was hard for us to be able to express our emotions, and very, very stunted. And the reason I actually wanted to start to expose this is I've had the privilege of mentoring other men and women and hearing similarities of I don't know what really masculinity is. I don't know how it is to be a man. Or if somebody was to tell me that something happened to them was a lot of shame. And I realized that yeah, shame has stopped us from growing. Shame has stopped us from moving forward. They have all these pressures, but we don't have usually the outlets to talk to people about. And looking forward to these more and more guys that I have on these podcasts, from veterans to doctors, lawyers, accountants, business people, to people who have had substance abuse, to other areas that they have had to pull back away from. Because even though that some of them are highly successful people, there's still a lot of shame about being vulnerable, talking about our stresses, putting our stresses on somebody else, having a warm pillow to land on. And I hope you guys take the time and enjoy this journey with me, as I'm actually looking forward to learning more about talking on podcasts to interviewing and improving the way that I'm actually going to tell my story and also helping other guys tell their story. There will be a way for you guys to get in contact with me from my email to other platforms. If you guys are interested, I would love to hear more about your story. We'll sit down one on one, virtually, probably, have a conversation, pick your brain, and see where you're at. If you're not ready to start telling your story, maybe we can start pointing in the right direction for a therapist, a good therapist to help you out. Maybe a good peer that has actually been in that area, that realm. But irregardless, I'm looking forward to seeing how many people we can help. Love you guys.